Atlanta News First Plus starts now with a First Alert Weather Day.
First Alert meteorologist Shady Disher in here. As we take a live look at the radar, we're definitely seeing some showers continuing on the south side of the city. Let's go ahead and zoom that out a little bit there for you. But Locust Grove over to Jackson, seeing some showers, but we are starting to finally see a line of showers and storms developing into northwest Georgia and over in towards Alabama. Those are going to slowly move in our direction as we head through the next really several hours. So basically what's happening is we have two air masses fighting each other at the moment. And because of that, we're kind of stuck in between here in Atlanta. So the models actually depicted this quite well yesterday, and which is amazing because they've had really big problems with this system over the past few days. So, it's a little bit behind time-wise where they thought, whereas what we're seeing right now at 8, the models kind of indicated was going to be happening at 5, but, it is still happening. So we are starting to see that develop, and it will slowly work its way into the metro as we head into the evening and on into the overnight hours. But let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit to show you what's going on. Now, back out towards the west, we did have showers over the Wedowee area, over Lake Wedowee, and then over into Carroll and Heard County. Those have since finally dissipated. It was raining out in that area for a very long time, several hours. Finally rained itself out. But you can see down to Troup County, some showers have moved in. No real lightning with that. Maybe a bolt or two over, West Point Lake. But for the most part, these are just showers, not really some storms. Now, up into North Georgia, this is where we're seeing some storms develop, and these are extending from Dalton down to the Rome area. Notice they're not really moving, but if you look closely over several, loops that we've got the radar doing, slowly pushing down towards the south. So eventually, and it will take several hours, I'm thinking maybe like 11 to 12 o'clock tonight, that will start to make its way into metro Atlanta. I think by the most part, that's going to be, just rain. I don't think we're going to see a lot of thunderstorms out of this system. In fact, let me go ahead and show you why. I built a nice little graphic that kind of explains all this, because this is typically what we have going on is a weather pattern we would see in the later months, the fall months, the winter months. But it does happen in the summer from time to time, so it's not rare. It's just more uncommon. And so what's happening is a wedge has started to develop. And again, you typically hear us say that sometime between like October and February, but it does happen in the summer. And right now it's happening for two reasons. One is a high pressure system over the Great Lakes region. So that's got the clockwise flow around it, and that's bringing cooler air down from Canada, down the backside of the Appalachians and into North Georgia. And that flow is being reinforced by a low pressure system. Coincidentally enough, not a tropical low right now, but could become, it's got a 30% chance by the National Hurricane Center to become a tropical depression within the next week. So, both of those, their powers combined are giving us that northeasterly flow, and that's what's bringing in the cooler temperatures for us. And you can kind of see it on the map here. We talk Atlanta, we're looking 70s in Asheville, but once you start to get outside of that, 80s in Charlotte, 80s in Raleigh, 80s in Nashville, Birmingham, and Montgomery. So you kind of see where exactly that cooler air is sliding down the back of the Appalachians. And once the Appalachians end, as they do in North Georgia, it starts to spread out at the surface. So that's why folks in Rome, down into Macon, over into Augusta are seeing the cooler temperatures as well. It's because that air is allowed to spread out once the mountains end. So it's kind of cool what's happening. It's unusual to see at this time of year, but not, again, rare. So look at our temperatures. Not really going to be changing over the course of the next several days. Tomorrow, I've got us at 75 degrees. It is a first alert weather day because we are expecting widespread drizzle and rain off and on throughout the day. I'm going to put a damper on those plans. I don't think you should probably cancel your outdoor plans for tomorrow, but it will have the potential to be wet. So make sure to check the radar, before you're heading out for your activities. You can do that just as easy on the First Alert Weather app. So, go to your iOS, your App Store, over towards your Android Play Store. Atlanta News First Alert Weather app, live look at radar, plus Atlanta's most accurate 7-day forecast. It's great. So, by the way, still Monday, rainy, just not as much, only about 40%. So not really a First Alert Weather day. The rain chances are a little bit lower, but they go right back up on Tuesday. In fact, Tuesday looks to be the wettest day of the next 7 days. Tuesday, I'm going to go ahead and say will probably be a washout. Model's been very consistent on very heavy, steady rain across the area. The Weather Prediction Center, which is an arm of NOAA, has already put out a bulletin that, hey, North Georgia should be looking out for the potential for flash flooding on Tuesday. So that's one thing we're going to keep an eye out. The ground's going to be pretty soggy as we get to that point, just because we've had so much, even though it hasn't been heavy, it's been enough to keep the soil saturated kind of rain. It's also kept us cool. Look at these temperatures, 70 in Blairsville, 71 in Gainesville. So if you're up at Lake Lanier, I mean, it's a decent day on the boat in terms of it's somewhat dry up in the northeast area, but it doesn't feel great. You've got the wind going on you with the boat on the water. You don't have that sun to warm you up there. So it doesn't look like that's going to be coming back out, until maybe next weekend or even beyond that. So cool patterns are really setting up. But the farther southwest you go, the warmer it gets. In fact, it's almost 80 in Noonan, 77 in Atlanta, 75 in Thomaston, Covington, and Eatonton, 76 up into Rome, and 77 in Carrollton. And we did top out today at 80 degrees, 10 degrees below average. Our morning low, though, right on track. Low to mid-70s is what we'd exactly expect for this time of year. And one of the reasons is, a lot of people, when they saw this forecast initially, and I had several people texting me and asking me, they're like, hey, we're in the 70s. Is this like a shot of fall? And it's like, no. And the reason we say that is even though these temperatures are typically what we would see in the fall months, the humidity is sky high right now. Our dew points are still in the 70s. You can feel the moisture even if it's not raining. And that's not something we typically see with fall, with that cooler shot of air that would move on in. So, it's not quite fall-like, but it is definitely a welcome sigh of relief from the 90s and even 100s that we had earlier this week. And those aren't coming back for at least another week. So enjoy the cooler air, even though it is going to be coming in with the rain. The thing that's kind of missing from that fall pattern, and I'll go ahead and show you as we move on in towards the next slide, is the overnight temperatures aren't really cooling down that much. So if you remember from the almanac, and I'll go ahead and show it to you again, our high temperature, well below average. 10 degrees below average. Our morning low, though, 2 degrees above average. So even though I said it was near average, and it is, we are on the higher side of that. And that's because of that humidity that's sticking around. Tonight, I think we'll get a few degrees cooler, but still near 70. 70 is kind of that threshold of muggy and not muggy. And we're just going to be on the muggier side of things as we head into tomorrow morning. So, even upper 60s is going to be on the muggier side of things. 68 in Carrollton, 69 in Covington and Eatonton, 65 in Blairsville. Is it cooler than what we've been seeing? Yes. Is it, a nice start to the day? It's okay. It's humid. I mean, even my husband walked outside this morning and was just like, it's cool, but it's not really comfortable because the air was just so sticky. Now, by tomorrow afternoon, widespread showers rolling in off and on across the area. Some of the northeast Georgia mountains may not even get out of the 60s. Some of north and northeast Georgia may not get out of the 60s. Heck, if you are planning to be on Lake Lanier tomorrow, it's probably going to be the mid to upper 60s for most of the afternoon. Here in Atlanta, we're going to get up to maybe 75. That's a big maybe. I'm going to look at the model data that's coming in right now. So, the big model runs come in every 6 hours. So we'll look at it's called the 18Z, and I'll look at that before we go on air for 10 and 11 tonight, because I may actually pull this number down just a bit. Models have a tendency to not really handle big temperature swings that are the opposite of the season you're in. So what that means is they don't really handle cool downs in the summer that are well below average, and they don't really handle warm-ups in the winter that are exceptionally warm. So, I may have to pull this number down just a little bit. We'll see, though. I mean, we were a little cooler today than some of the models said. So I think if that's the trend tomorrow, we have maybe low 70s in the metro with these showers that are going to move through the area. Monday's more of the same. It's not a big change. This pattern is going to be sticking with us as we go throughout the next several days of 70s as we go through the beginning of the work week. So, if, we're talking 76 on Monday, 70 in Thomaston, 72 in Gainesville, 74 in Helen. And we're going to slowly start to see those temperatures rise as we go throughout the next few days. Hold on here. We got those first alert weather days wrong on the underside of this, so that's my apology there. We'll quickly fix them out. So, we do have first alert weather days for Sunday and Tuesday. Those are for the rain. Notice those first alert weather days are going to be in the 70s. Once we get Tuesday, which is, like I said, that's the washout. That's when we may have flash flooding. Once we get past that, we'll slowly, inch by inch, start to warm up. But we're going to be well below average for the next 7 to 10 days. This weather pattern shows no signs of abating in that time frame. In fact, go ahead and take a look. 60% chance of rain for your Sunday. 70% on Tuesday. Those are our elevated days. But guess what? The other days still elevated too. 40% chances of showers Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and spoiler alert, Friday, Saturday of next week. So, unfortunately, it's just not great for outdoor plans. It's not horrible. It's not great, though. And here's that 7-day forecast, so I don't really spoil anything too much for you. But notice, even though by the time we get to next weekend, models have brought those temperatures down. If you were watching yesterday, Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez and I were explaining that, by the time we get to next weekend, we should start to see those temperatures back to the upper 80s and lower 90s, because that's what the models were hinting at that time. But now all of them have pulled that right back down. So it almost is like we're stuck in this dreary, gloomy type pattern. The caveat is, much like we saw between yesterday and today, the models, especially once we get past 72 hours, can and will change. So, take next weekend's forecast with a huge grain of salt. It's, we're just going to have to wait and see what it is. But this is what we're looking at, the potential for it right now. So let's go ahead and time out tomorrow's rain threat as we go throughout the day. So by 8 a.m., we're already starting with that drizzle mist that we saw for most of today. And we do expect that to kind of continue until we get into the afternoon hours. And look, by noon, some of those heavier showers, the ones like we saw today in Alabama and up into northwest Georgia, those look to form right on top of the metro area as we get into tomorrow afternoon. They'll push up to the north, and then they'll continue as we head into 7 o'clock. And then we'll start to dry things out as we head into the evening hours and into the overnight hours. So, it's really kind of a copy and paste forecast. I just think by Monday, we're not going to see as much rain. Obviously, that's why I have the lower rain chance. But look at these temperatures, 74 in Helen, 70 in Carrollton and LaGrange. These are our highs. Some folks won't get out of the 60s again on your Monday. And I took a look because Jennifer and I were taking a look because we were wondering, how unseasonably cool is this? So we went back and looked. We talk about record highs and record lows all the time, and I think most folks are familiar with that. But we also keep track of record warm lows. So, for example, a record warm low would be like, if the record low today is 60, then maybe 75 would be the highest low temperature we've ever seen that day, and it goes the flip side. So we were looking for the beginning of August. The record cool highs, so the coolest high temperatures we've had this time of year, are in the low 70s. We're talking 71 to 73 degrees. Kind of depends on what day you're looking at. So we're going to be pretty close to that for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That's how uncommon this is. It's not unprecedented, but it is uncommon to have temperatures this low in August, to the point where it's only happened a few times as we've gone throughout the years. By the time we get into Tuesday, though, that's when that next round of showers starts to move in. Maybe a rumble of thunder actually mixed in with these as well. And I want to show you, because the models have kind of differed a little bit on Tuesday in terms of timing and placement in the local area. So when you look within our area, you're like, oh, this is moving to the north, this is moving to the south. The big picture, though, is it's had the heavy, steady rain over North Georgia almost every single model run for the last 2 days. So that's a good indicator that we're going to see some very heavy rain as we make our way into your Tuesday. So already in place by that morning commute, continuing to expand and become heavy as we head into the afternoon. Another round of possibly heavy rain for the evening commute, and then it continues into the overnight hours. It doesn't move, and it should linger on into Wednesday morning as well. So it's going to be a pretty wet system as we make our way into your Tuesday. And even Wednesday, we're looking at 40% chance of showers. Thursday, another 40% chance of showers. Now we're in the low 80s by that point. As we head into Friday, we're going to be looking at our next Braves on Gray Day. So if you're going to head to Truist Park, maybe a poncho. 40% chance of rain as of right now. Temperature's still about 10 degrees below average, so at least it'll be comfortable at the game. You're not going to have the sun beating down on you. You're not going to have those heat index values up in the upper 90s like we typically see this time of year. So if we can dodge the rain, it's actually going to be a very comfortable game, and that's the forecast trend as we head into your Saturday as well. So, a lot of things are going to be working in tandem this week in terms of temperature and also in terms of rainfall. Again, though, for the most part, though, the heaviest rain is going to be on Tuesday. The best rain chances are going to be tomorrow and Tuesday. So obviously I'm going to go, and when I'm done with this, I'm going to go look at the next round of models, have an updated forecast for you tonight at 10 o'clock on Peachtree TV, and then at 11 on Atlanta News First. And then tomorrow morning, Isaac Williams will be back on air online and on the app to give you the latest on what you can expect for you.
Stay up to date on your latest weather from the largest team of meteorologists in the Southeast. Download the First Alert Weather app for hour-by-hour forecasts and join us every weekday at 11:30 a.m. on ANF+. You can also text weather to the number on your screen, and we'll send a link directly to your cell phone.